Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Bex here today to share my Nonfiction November TBR. If you stumbled across this video and you're not sure what Nonfiction November is, I will link the announcement video down below. It's hosted by Olive at Book Olive, and she's been doing this for a number of years, and I've been participating for a very long time as well because I love nonfiction. So the entire idea of this is that it's a reading initiative. So if you are somebody that rarely reads nonfiction, just picking up one nonfiction book in the month of November means you're participating. If you're someone like me that reads a lot of it all year round, your challenge may be to try and fulfill the prompts or just read all nonfiction, which I'm aiming for, really. So I will now share with you the books that I have picked out to not only fit the prompts that Olive gave us, but also just a couple other things that I want to put on my TBR to see if I can actually get to them. The prompts for Nonfiction November are always one word and they're open to interpretation, which is always kind of fun because then you can see what books you have on your shelves and how you can maybe mold them to fit the particular prompts. So the first one this year is Record, and for that I'm going to be reading this very large coffee table book called History as They Saw It: Iconic Moments from the Past in Color. So what this book does is it has compiled 120 photographs that were originally taken in black and white, and they have been colorized, and you can flip through history starting most recently, so in the 1940s I believe, and then you can work your way back all the way to almost the beginning of photography as a thing. So, and each page has the picture on one side, and then there's kind of some text about it and a quote from an article either about the picture or about what's happening in the picture, so you get the context as well. Although this is a very large book, I don't think it will take me that long to read because it is mostly photos with a bit of text, and I picked this one for Record because these pictures are a record of our history, and I thought this would be an excellent way to get myself to actually pick up a coffee table book. Oh, and also this book is put together by Wolfgang Wild and Jordan Lloyd, since I forgot to mention that at the beginning. The second prompt is Element, and for that I have chosen The Disappearing Spoon and Other True Tales of Madness, Love, and the History of the World from the Periodic Table of the Elements by Sam Keen. This is actually a book that Olive mentioned in her recommendations video, which is separate from the announcement video, and I realized that I have this on my shelves and it's been on my shelf for years. I believe it even came up in a previous Nonfiction November TBR way back in the day, back when I just kind of pulled a bunch of books off my shelves and said I will choose from this pile, whereas now I'm being more exact with what I want to read. I have been told that this is sort of like snippets, so you can really just set this down and come back to it because it's individual stories about particular elements on the periodic table and maybe their discovery, their creation, just anecdotes in relation to history and what's been done with those elements. So I think I'll learn a lot from it, and it sounds like it'll be fun, so gonna actually try to get to this one this time. The third prompt is Border, and for that I have chosen The Condé Nast Traveler, Book of Unforgettable Journeys, Great Writers on Great Places. The connection to Border should be pretty obvious as these writers are writing about different places in many different countries. I don't recognize most of the authors listed in here. Simon Winchester is one in particular because I have his book Atlantic on my shelves right up here, right out of the screen, so you can't quite see it. But most of these people I don't recall ever having read anything by them, but it focuses on experiences that they had in a number of different countries. Looking at the contents of the book, it looks like we're gonna go to France, Florida, Ethiopia, Spain, the Philippines, and a bunch of other places. So I will get a kind of tour of the world based on what these writers have to say. There's also apparently some tips and tricks if you go to these specific locations that they're writing about. This book was published in 2007, so I don't exactly trust what will be said in that part of the book, but at least I can read about some different travel experiences and cross many different borders in the process. The final prompt is Secret, and for that I have chosen The Secret Lives of Color by Cassia St. Clair, one of the prettiest books that I have on my shelves. This one connects because the word is in the title. And this looks at many different colors and the history and the stories behind them. There is a bit of an intro at the beginning that kind of, gives you the contents of what colors you're going to cover specifically, and then it's also going to talk about like color vision, how we see color, chromophilia, chromophobia, kind of get that introduction at the beginning about colors in general, and then get very specifically into colors themselves and like the very specific hues of them. And I just love that the colors that you're going to discuss are on the edge of the pages. This book is very beautiful, very well put together. And it's another one that is going to be very easy to pick up and put down as needed because it's not a continual narrative nonfiction kind of story. It's very specific with what each chapter is going to cover. That's apparently the theme for this Nonfiction November. I also have 2 other books that I really want to get to this month that I didn't specifically pick to match the prompts, but one of them actually matches very well. I really want to listen to the audiobook of The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. This works for Element because radium is an element, and it also works for record because an audiobook is a recording. So I thought that was kind of fun that it would fit 2 of those prompts, and it's just an audiobook that I've been really wanting to get to, so I thought it would fit perfectly for listening to this month. This is about women in the early 20th century who worked in factories where they would paint radium onto different things, and they would literally dip their brushes in the radium, lick them to make sure they were nice and pointy. And of course they got very, very sick from that, and the companies apparently didn't care and just lied to them and said it had nothing to do with what they were doing at the time because people didn't realize how dangerous radium was. So I'm going to get a very in-depth look at what happened to those women and to those companies. So looking forward to that. And then the last book that I really want to read that didn't quite fit super well with any of the prompts is Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot by Mikki Kendall. This is on my list of 10 books that I really wanted to get to this year, and I just keep pushing this aside to focus on other things, and I'm finally saying to myself, okay, you need to read this because we're going into November here. It's time. This is a really popular book on BookTube, and it looks at how feminism has really centered on sort of middle class, upper middle class, rich white women and what they need, when really we should be looking at feminism as something that means we should get equal access to like good quality education, good medical care, access to food, just the absolute basics so that people are not struggling on a day-to-day basis. And that's really what feminism should be focusing on. So I'm really looking forward to learning something in this book and probably marking it up with a lot of sticky notes. Those are the 6 books that I will be trying to get to in November. If you're participating, please let me know which you'll be reading down below. If you've uploaded a video, you can let me know as well, and I'll go watch it because I love to see what other people are reading, and then I can add stuff to my TBR because nonfiction is my top genre. It's a huge genre, of course, but I love nonfiction, and so it's really great to see what everybody else is reading this time of year. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you later.